Hi guys, welcome back to hairdryer treatment. I don't even know what to say. I don't know how to start this video. Feeling so angry right now, to be honest with you. Meg, how are you feeling? I'm just gonna get straight into it. Like I'm literally speechless right now.
It's honestly the worst. I was about to say the worst way you can lose a game, and that's what it feels like, isn't it? When you concede a last-minute goal, Everton players celebrating that they've just won the game, and it literally makes you feel like you've lost. I can't believe we're sitting here about to discuss a draw. I can't, like, that's just.
I've literally come upstairs to set the stream up, and then I've heard shouting from downstairs, and I thought, oh, we've scored again. It's gone to 4. I walked downstairs, it's 2-2, and I was just like, what? And I've watched it back, and obviously Harry Maguire, we've got to talk about it. But defensively, we've said it many times, and it's not just Maguire, of course, but defensively, Meg, is disastrous. Like, we've scored 3 goals at home today, and we've still not come out with a win. Like that should never ever happen.
Everybody knows that our defence is our Achilles heel. It is painful to watch at times. It's our weakest spot. Something's got to change. We've seen it. We've seen Bayer come in. We saw it a little bit more settled. He can't stay fit. We've had to drop back to the Lindelof Maguire, and there's always going to be a conversation around these two players. They're not quick enough. It was shown tonight. It was highlighted massively tonight that there's an issue, and I think that's always going to surround them until they can consistently perform at a top level together, and it doesn't happen, and therefore they bring their own conversation up.
Honestly, I'm fuming right now, like too fuming for words. And someone said it there, it's heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking, like you said, it feels like a loss. Jerome, thank you so much for the super chat. He said we needed Donny's tidiness in the midfield. Don't know why Fred came on. Marcus has to do better. Rashford should have scored, no doubt about it. Rashford should have scored. Fred shooting like he's got a golf club as a right foot. So I don't know what that was about. Sorry, but I don't know what that was about. Honestly, yeah, I think going forwards, to be fair, we look good. I've got to be honest. I've said it many times. Mason Greenwood in that first half in particular, I thought he's one of the best players in the pitch. I thought he looked really sharp tonight, and he adds more balance on that right hand side. And I still stick to that. I think going forwards, yeah, but at the same time, we've got to be more clinical. Rashford had a good opportunity. Fred had a decent opportunity, and again, we haven't been clinical. And quite frankly, if you defend like we defend, I don't think you can call it Sunday League defending at times, Meg. It's shocking.
It doesn't work, does it? Because if you've got so many chances, I mean, the chances were mounting up. At one point during the second half, I think we'd had 13 chances. We'd had 5 on target. They had 3 chances. They'd had 2 on target, and they'd scored 2 goals. If you're going to have 13 chances and not have at least half of them on target, then you're going to have an issue, especially when you then relying on your defence, which is your weakest part, to keep a team out. We knew that Dominic Calvert-Lewin was a threat in the box. Proved it right up until the bloody end, didn't they?
Yeah. And you know what? We kept him fairly quiet, didn't we? Obviously, had that one chance in the first half where he should have put it away. No, it was a sitter.
Yeah.
And he just felt like, come on, switch on now. And the way we started the second half is despicable. God knows what was said at the half time, but we did not come out of the box, and we were punished. 3 minutes was it took them to get back level?
Yeah, 2 goals, 3 minutes.
It's shambolic. It really is. As it said, their defence is terrible. I mean, in response to that super chat we just had on, Meg, do you think that, I mean, I said I'd like to see Donny come on, but I didn't fully feel like that was going to happen. Fred coming on, do you blame Ollie for that, or do you think Fred was the right decision to make at that point?
I think Fred at the first half was the right decision. If I'm honest, that's exactly the change that I would have made. I feel like there's been a little bit more consistency between the McTominay and Fred partnership. We've seen it before, and I think the balance of the team at that point, because of how the game was going in the first half. And I actually think that first half we did really well I think the first 20 minutes was just, I don't want to say boring, but they made it difficult. They made it difficult to feed into our front players. Bruno wasn't really getting onto the ball. We had no service to the front 3, so they made it difficult. But we rode it out, and we were just patient, and we just kept moving the ball. And I think that just having that Fred and McTominay there, like I said, it was just probably a little bit of a better balance instead of bringing Donny on. But yeah, I think the first half just rode it out and were patient, moved them about, and just wore them down. And that was what we should have just been doing. But then to come out, you had to do that in the second half again. You wear them out in the first 45 minutes, make them move across the pitch time and time and time again. Go into half time, they're obviously going to have a breather. They're going to come back out and do exactly the same thing to you. But that time we didn't wear them out, and that time we weren't patient enough. And that second half, it's just, how are you going to concede 2 in 3 minutes to literally say, come on, we'll make it into a bit more of a game?
Yeah, I know. And obviously, I think some of the subs are questionable to Nzai coming on, for example. We'll discuss that in a minute. I agree with Silver Shadow here as well. But obviously, Wan-Bissaka tried to force a ball to Cavani. That was a time where we need to be professional, see the game out and be patient, like you say. Just keep the ball, keep passing it. And we've tried to force the ball forwards. They've turned it over, won a free kick following that, and yeah, whatever. But defensively, woeful at times. And I do think at times we gave the ball to Everton far too quickly. The turnover was too quick. I think we need to be a bit more patient. Didn't need to force it as much. But I just, like you said, this feels like a defeat. I'm sitting in, I'm talking here, like obviously we've just got a point at home, but I'm talking like a defeat because, like, how can you score three goals at home and then still not win the game? And then apparently we're in a title race. I'm sorry, but that is not title winning form. Nowhere near.
I feel like I said, literally as we came on, I feel like I was saying the worst way to lose a game. And it does feel like a loss when you're winning at that point. And like literally the last kick of the game, they scored. You'd literally look at the Everton players running around at the end of the game like they've just taken all 3 points.
Yeah. We've got James in the chat who's an Everton fan. Thanks for tuning in, James, and let us know how you're feeling about that result as well. So I didn't think we deserved the draw, to be honest. We sat way too deep in fighting pressure, but we responded well. Yeah, and obviously that, whatever Ancelotti said at halftime, it worked. You came at the blocks, got straight back into the game. But defensively, I mean, we called it on here. I said that I felt we were going to concede because you just cannot trust us defensively. And yet again, it's the same old situation, isn't it, Meg? This isn't like it's come out of nowhere. Though. This always happens. Like, I'm sick of it now. Maguire and Lindelof for me just does not work.
Do you know what? Like, I actually wish they would work because we just revert back to it all the time. And at times in the season, they have shown that they can work together, but you saw them get isolated tonight in those channels against players with pace. And it's scary to watch because any team that would clock onto that, at the moment, we're pushing off fullbacks on. We're inviting them to go, Luke Shaw going forward at the moment is class. You don't want it to tell him you've got to sit back. Wan-Bissaka, although he is more defensive minded, we're telling him to go forward and join in the attack and literally go forward, get crosses in because we've got players in the box now. We're asking our fullbacks to that. Before we were asking our front 3 players to do that. So if you're going to push the fullbacks on and isolate your centre backs in the middle and leave them back, that's where you've got to have pace. And that's what's killing us. And any team that plays against us, if they don't clock onto that, then more for them. Because if I was playing against Manchester United, I would isolate our 2 centre-backs and run them into the channels like Everton did tonight. And should have done more of. And I think it was picked up in the first half. They should have done that way more often. If they hadn't have been so foolish as to not see the ball, they could have got through way more often.
Yeah, Ammon says that's a horror show. Last 5 minutes, Maguire was awful. Thank you so much for the super chat, Ammon. Last 5 minutes was, to be fair, the second half, you'd say the first, 5-10 minutes was shambolic, and then the last 5 minutes was shambolic. And we say it, don't we? We play in phases, but you can't have that. We need to take control of the game. We need to be assured. And you just felt tonight, even though we had a lot of possession, we didn't feel fully in control of the game, Megan. I genuinely felt that throughout.
If you're going to play in phases, though, that's fine. Because I think, like, a game of football, you will find that there will be, like, 5 minutes or 10 minutes of a team dominant in possession, or then like the change of momentum. That's fine, but like I said, at one point we had 13 chances and they'd had 3. They'd scored 2 goals out of 3 chances. We got 13, and if you're going to be dominant in possession and create chances, then take them. Don't just. And that's frustrating to watch because at times, if only that Luke Shaw, by the way, if that Luke Shaw shot had gone in, I'd have been. Yeah,
Luke Shaw thought had a decent game, to be fair, but I think if you're talking about being clinical in front of goal, I completely agree. But at the same time, if you score 3 goals at home, that should be enough. I don't care who. That should be enough to win a game. So for me, yes, we need to be more clinical in front of goal, and I get that, but you're not going to win 9-0 every week, are you? So you need to make sure you're solid defensively, and we're not solid defensively. And Curtis, I appreciate that we've got no other choices, obviously, by you being out, but surely we've had enough warning now that we need a centre back. It's all right sitting there and saying Phil Jones is coming back into the squad, but we need players who are actually going to improve our defence right now. So again, questions have to be thrown at the board and the backing and whatnot, because we've needed a centre back for ages now. Thank you so much to Doug for the super chat. He says, I'm not even joking. Manchester United should have bought a centre back in January. That defending cost you, and it will continue to cost us. I'll add that in. Ed Woodward does not back Ollie enough. A centre back is needed. Definitely. I mean, Calamity FC at the back, Meg. We'll talk about De Gea, because I saw someone mention De Gea, and I think we need to. We've said that it felt like the old De Gea was back. But today, the first goal, the way he parried it out, woeful.
Yeah.
And does he need to be braver for that equaliser at the end? Because for me, I think he needs to be a bit braver there.
I think everyone needs to be a bit braver in that equaliser at the very, very end. You have to just go out and win that ball. You know that they're going to put it into the box. You just have to. One player's got to just take command and just say, "I'm winning that ball." And when it drops, every single Manchester United player needs, not every single, but like whoever's closest, but every single United player should be ready for it to drop next to them to be the first one onto it. Wherever it drops inside that box, every single Manchester United player has to be ready.
Yeah.
And Calvert-Lewin was the first one to it, not us. But their first goal, I think, you know, he's going to beat himself up about that one, because as a goalkeeper, and every footballer knows, if it goes in, you can't parry it right into the middle of the goal. It has to go away from goal, and it wasn't. It was literally directly in his path.
I know. Fred defensively useless today. The only thing I worried about with Fred is I felt like when Pogba was going off, that's when we had that moment of control. When I said we didn't control the game, I felt we were just starting to really control the game. Pogba was starting to dictate, and unfortunately he's got the injury, and hopefully, obviously fingers crossed, it isn't too serious, but it did look like a bit of a pull in his quad. But when that happened, I kind of felt Fred coming on, I was worried. I thought we're not going to have as much control in the middle, because Fred is quite erratic on the ball. He gives the ball away a lot. And I felt at that point in time we needed someone who's going to be composed, which is why I was edging for Donny, thinking he'll keep it ticking over, keep it simple. But I mean, defence, you can say Fred, but I'd say across the board, defensively useless today. And we talk about Maguire. One thing I want to say as well, I thought he got a bit lucky just before with Calvert-Lewin when he went down for the foul. And obviously then it bounced through to Richarlison and he almost scored. But I hate this, Meg. I don't know if it's a bane of yours as well, but when players are appealing constantly on the floor, appealing before a whistle's been blown or appealing for an offside. There's a few in that first half where Wan-Bissaka's clearly playing them onside, and you've got Maguire holding his hand up appealing, and for their last goal, Maguire stood holding his hand up, yet he's playing them all onside. When are we going to start being proactive? Like, I'm sick of seeing reactive players.
How many times, like even grassroots, you are told you play to the whistle, and right now, with everything that's going on with VAR and linesmen not putting flags up, you just got to play. You've got to act like every player is onside no matter what. They could be 5 yards offside and you could literally be looking at them and you would have to play. Don't even, you just can't let it faze you. I am laughing, not because of our result, but the fact that Arsenal for life is trying to banter us today. Like, today's not the time for you. Talk to me about your score today as well.
Yeah, definitely not. Let's focus on the teams that actually are going to get top four. Should we focus on the teams who are actually near there? Amen, thank you so much for the super chat. That free kick tried to win a couple of minutes earlier. That's the one I'm talking about, when he fell to the floor. He said it was shameful, not even close to a leader. That was insulting. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But I mean, that's meant to be our leader, our captain, and like you say, Meg, he should be. He didn't even get up and try and make amends for his mistake, even if a free kick was given. If he'd have got up and actually made an effort, but he just kind of lay there and just expected it to happen. And I'm thinking, it doesn't work. Like, you've got to play to the whistle, react to it, and it's like a bit of arrogance at times that creeps in, and it does my head in. And especially when games tight like that. I mean, I can't even talk enough about defensively today.
I'm confused because at that point in the game, and when the scoreline is as it is, and as a centre back, I would never, ever try and play for a free kick in my own half at that point in the game, at that scoreline. Never. at that point, you've got to game management, and that's play for it right when up in there kind of half. You just got to keep the ball. You can't just try and just buy into a free kick when clearly it wasn't. It was never going to be a free kick. It was way too soft.
Yeah. I see some people in the chat saying it was a handball by Calvert-Lewin, but that aside, look, regardless, we should be winning that first header. That close to the end of the game, clinging on, I'm sorry, but you should be throwing the kitchen fridge, everything like that to get rid of it. And simply, we just don't. Everton wanted it more than us, and that's the hurtful thing, I think. And giving away stupid free kicks anyway, not keeping the ball and being calm on the ball and just ticking the game over, keeping possession, trying to force balls forwards was stupid as well. It's like there's a catalogue of events really that have built up to that point into the goal. So whether it's handball or not, like, to be honest, I couldn't care less. Like that, regardless, it should not have reached Calvert-Lewin in the box like that. It just shouldn't. Ryan says, did United go in too comfortable at half-time? Always felt like that had the game already won. Possibly. I will say Bruno Fernandes' goal, by the way, was absolutely class. It was pretty silent most game.
It's such a shame.
Yeah.
Because we haven't even mentioned it. Like, imagine, we don't concede at the end and we win 3-2. We would be sat here and we could have done a whole show on the fact that Bruno has literally just turned into Eric Cantona in a split second. The dummy, the audacity of having to dummy it and then just stand there and just pick his spot. Like, I wish we were talking about that, but I feel so deflated from the final 10 seconds of a game that's going to go under the radar. And it was a superb 10 seconds of play by by Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah, Nicole is in the chat. Big up to Nicole. She said, what's the saying yesterday, girls? Balloon errors. I saw you tweeting saying, can anything be more Manchester United than this as well? So yeah, Nicole, we're gutted, and I'm sure you are as well. Feels like a loss right now. I mean, Meg, 6 goals were in that game. 6 goals, and we could have possibly scored more. We mentioned Rashford should have been more clinical. Let's try and actually focus on some of the positives for a little bit, because obviously it's deflating the fact that we, like I say, it feels like I lost that game. I need to keep saying that we have lost them, we haven't. But the goals that we did score, we'll start with the Cavani one. I mean, that's what he's about, isn't it? That number 9 and the ball from Rashford.
The assist, quality, wasn't it? Yeah, pinpoint. And just the fact that he is back post, he's come across 2 players, and he's hardly had a touch all game, and he finds the back of the net. Yeah. And we always said this about Cavani, his little movements in that box to find a little bit of space, get away from his player. He's just superb. He's one of the best at it right now. And I just love the fact that, I always say this, that he is there and he's teaching others around him. If we can get him influencing Martial, Greenwood, Rashford, we're gonna relish, the players are going to relish off that in a couple of seasons. It's not just going to be now, it's going to be in the future as well. But yeah, the ball from Rashford was delightful, an absolute peach.
Definitely. And obviously Cavani there to finish it off, as he has been many times already this season, and it's a play that we said needed to start from the off, and it did. But Martial, what's your thoughts on him not getting on? I thought he would at least get on in this game, but obviously he stuck with Greenwood right up until the end. I'm a bit sad that I didn't see Martial on after the 2 goals in the week.
Yeah, do you know what? Bearing in mind, obviously, we got forced into the change with Pogba. During that second half, I probably wouldn't have made a change. It's so difficult to risk changing a team during the second half, because their players were it was a tight game. We knew that by the end they were going to come on to us a little bit more, and changing it, I just wouldn't have done it. And I don't know. Well, look what happened when we had a sub anyway.
That coincided, but do you think that was a bit negative? Or do you think Ollie was thinking that extra security on set pieces, a bit more height in there? Obviously, it didn't pay off in the end because we ended up conceding from that. But do you think that was probably Ollie's thoughts behind it?
Yeah, obviously, if anything, you want to protect yourself and protect the score. So I think defensively, you were going to switch it a little bit just to try and secure it up a little bit more. But
yeah,
like I said, I wouldn't have made a change. I think when it's so tight, it can really, one little minor change. Ancelotti had made all of his subs and we still hadn't made our other 2. I would have just left it. Let them players just see the game through. They're obviously focused. Coming on as a sub is so difficult anyway to find your feet in a game. Right at the end, unless you're doing it for time wasting purposes, you just don't do it.
Yeah. Are you worried, Meg, about the immense goals we conceded already this season? Because we keep saying it's a recipe for disaster if you're not taking your chances, but then going the other end, you're letting goals in. Like I say, 3 goals at home should be enough to win any game. Yet again, it hasn't been. And this result really sums us up today, doesn't it? The fact that we've scored plenty of goals, but at the same time, we're just so vulnerable when we're defending. Like, you can never trust that this team is ever going to keep a clean sheet.
No, and it's just look. You go back to that Sheffield game where we didn't clear our lines for their second goal for their winner, and we're doing it again tonight. We didn't clear our lines. I don't know why. You can go on and win 9-0. One game ago, we kept a clean sheet, and then this game, you've just got to see it out, haven't you?
Yeah, and we just can't do it. We just cannot see it out. It's so frustrating. But obviously, we said Cavani goal as well. The Bruno goal, a lot of people saying was Cantona-esque. I saw James saying in the chat that Davies stood off him. But what I loved about it, obviously, he did that little arrogant dummy just beforehand. Then he did a little fake cross in, which I think that made Davies obviously jump. And then he worked the yard of space, didn't he? I think he worked that yard of space. And like I said, the finish was class. And then Rashford, that chance in the second half, where I think he kind of tried to sit the keeper down and tried to chip it, didn't he? He's just got to put his foot through there, hasn't he, Meg? At the angle he was at. I mean, it could have been so different.
Split decisions, isn't it? It's that one split decision with what you do, whether you strike it first time, he cuts back on his left and he misses the target. You could be talking about something completely different, but he obviously in that position thought that he could literally sit all the move the defender right across and have a better opportunity with a more of an open goal on the left, but wasn't to be.
Yeah, and obviously McTominay, McSauce, McSaviour, I thought it was going to be getting on the score sheet. Good finish, you'd say. Poor from the goalkeeper yet again, and you thought that was game it. But McTominay, you'd have to. Did you think he have a decent game today again? I thought he played decent, and he gets in the box, and he's proven yet again he's got a goal in him.
Yeah, I couldn't believe he popped up out of everyone. Like there was 4 Everton defenders and up pops McTominay. Goalkeeping was a little bit dubious. I don't know what he was doing. It's like got stuck in the mud or something. But
it's true.
But you need players to be fighting and battling, and there you go. He just pops up at the right time. But I genuinely didn't expect to see him out of everyone being there.
Yeah. Amon says last 10 minutes needed another midfielder, making it 3v3 in that midfield. I did think going 5 at the back kind of invited that pressure on from them. I don't know about your thoughts on that, Meg, but I just feel like we should have just had maybe even someone like Dan James coming on who could try and relieve a bit of the pressure and try and run the ball. I felt Tuanzebe was a bit of a too negative one. I'm guessing he was thinking because of the height, but at that moment in time, I just think it invited that pressure on right at the end, didn't it?
Yeah, and that's why I said I wouldn't have changed it, because I just think the players that are on the pitch at that point, you're so focused to just seeing the game through. It's difficult being a sub and coming on to try and find your feet. And like I said, I just wouldn't have made that decision. But he's obviously doing it to try and protect. You're not going to try and invite more pressure. You know that they're going to push forward anyway. You want to add a bit more protection, but yeah, purely probably doing it for more protection. But
so I think Ollie needs to have some criticism for that. To be honest, I think he has to. But I feel so down about it. Obviously, we've got West Ham coming up next, haven't we, in the Cup? And we've got to get some positivity and some confidence going into that game. But in terms of our side today, obviously, result aside, focusing on the performances, who would you say was our standout player tonight?
I think Luke Shaw had a great game. Well, a good game. Cavani again, tremendous up top. Really, really dominant in terms of leading from the front. And I've said that before, not just because he's like the first one at the top of the pitch, number 9, but he just in mentality as well, just pushes us even further forward, grabbed himself a goal. And I think Greenwood had a really, really good game. Quieter in the second half. I felt like he's playing with a little bit more confidence. So you saw it, often that he wants to come in cut inside on that left. And in the first half, he came to go left and pulled it back on the right. Okay, scuffed the shot. But for me, I've not seen that often enough. And I feel like he's playing with that little bit more confidence to be able to go and do that again. So I think he had he had a decent game. I think he just was a little bit quieter in the second half.
Yeah, a lot of people saying Cavani in the chat. George said Cavani as well. But yeah, especially first half, Greenwood was a standout player for me. I like that run in particular where he went on his right foot. He was positive on the ball, rarely gave the ball away, constantly trying to make stuff happen. And I thought he was that bright spark in that first half. A few good crosses, like in swinger crosses from his left as well. And yeah, I thought it was really impressive. But Cavani, I do think had an amazing game yet again. And his work ethic, Meg, the desire to get the ball back, like it's second to none, isn't it? And he gives us a lot more than just goals.
Yeah, and not just physically, like that whole mental side of that. He's been there, done it. He's won stuff. And he like we often talk about Bruno being a leader, but Cavani through performance leads. Yeah. I'm not saying that he's demanding of the players as well. Definitely, you've seen it. You've seen it if he doesn't get the ball when he wanted the ball, and he's seen that he should have had the ball. He tells them. But just in him work rate and ethic and just what he brings, just as a leader, as that kind of performance leads.
Definitely. I want to ask you your opinion on this before I miss it in the chat and I don't mention it. The Soucek red card, Mike Dean, yet again, making it all about him. He watched it. I mean, we watched it with him, God knows how many times, and how he has thought that is a red card is beyond me. I mean, that's a disgraceful decision, Meg, isn't it?
That is. I don't understand when a referee makes a decision like that they need to come out and explain why it's a red card. So he needs to be interviewed and tell me why that's a red card, because it's an absolutely awful decision to have made. And if that's not overturned, then God help us all, because it's absolutely ridiculous. I've got no words for it. It's just ridiculous.
Surely it's got to be overturned. You'd think it's got to be overturned, but I'm still baffled as to why the Louise one was overturned as well. A bit of positivity in the chat here, so everybody relax. We should have won, but we're progressing well. We are definitely progressing well, I'd agree, but there's only so many times that we can sit here and say it might turn out to be a valuable point come the end of the season, because it just feels like now we're dropping far too many points and foolishly dropping them. That's a frustrating thing. It wasn't like, I thought we did enough to win that game today, and it almost feels like we've thrown it away. And like I say, it's not a loss, I get that.
I think it's
in the manner in which we do it, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think if that goes in 10 minutes beforehand, you sat here and say, okay, we've drawn the game, because it's the last kick of the game. It just hurts that little bit more than it should do. But okay, we can relax and look back on it. If you do probably look back tomorrow and say, you can see the fact that we've just scored another 3 goals at home. There are times where we hardly scored any goals. We've got players, Greenwood coming through, and players probably finding a little bit more confidence. Yeah. And we have got a bit more of a direction. You can see that we are more creative going forward, but we always have to then talk about the defence. And it's how many times we have to revert back talking about the defence going to cost us the game. There's only so many times that you can be positive about it, but there's no changes.
Yeah. Exactly. Shivan says, how are we progressing when our defence is crap? And I think going forwards, like I say, Greenwood on that right hand side, I think that's probably the most balanced we've possibly looked going forward, especially like I say in phases. I think we look really good going forwards. I think Greenwood offers us something extra on that right hand side. Rashford is much better on the left.
Moving our fullbacks forward as well. The whole going forward, you can see that we have progressed in that sense.
Yeah. But defensively, I agree, there's a lot more work that still needs to be done. I still think we need that fresh pace in massively. And we're going to regret not doing that.
Everyone says that we rely on penalties, free kicks, set pieces. I remember a time we literally were hoping for a set piece so we could score. But now, like actually from open play, you can see so many more goals and so many more chances. But it's difficult to be excited about that when you haven't changed things at the back to secure and make things more solid.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Guys, obviously joining with the chat, we're going to get into the ratings now. This is going to be a really tough one today, to be honest with you, to rate this, because I think we feel so down at the result. It's kind of hard to focus on individual performances as much, but Yeah, the defensive ones are going to be interesting. Let's say that. And we'll get straight into it. I'm going to start with David De Gea. Meg. We've backed him last few weeks. We've been saying, you know what, De Gea's back to his best. He's looked like he's back in form. He looks more confident. Today, you'd have to say at fault for 2 of the goals. I do think he needed to be braver on that last one. And the first goal for me was just awful. He's either got to palm it away or try and gather that in. And he did a bit of neither, really. We've got a 0 in the chat, a 4, a 3. Obviously, 5 is our rating normally, but to let in 2 goals like that, it's got to be a below average, you think?
Yeah, for me, definitely a below average.
Good logic, to be fair, there.
Do you know what? A 3. Yeah, a 3.
Yeah. I feel bad to say. I think that's us being a bit kind as well, but yeah, 3. We'll go with 3. Wan-Bissaka then. A bit of an up and down game for Wan-Bissaka, I think, at times, like especially towards the end, giving the ball away carelessly, cost us. Obviously, there's still a lot of work to do for Everton between getting the ball back and winning a free kick and us conceding it in the manner we did. So I'm not saying he's completely at fault, but I just feel we needed to be a bit more clinical on the ball, a bit more composed, and I think at times today Wan-Bissaka wasn't that.
I think he was quite sloppy in playing the ball.
Yeah.
But I have to say as well, again, his one-on-one tackling comes to save him. More often than not, he might give the ball away, but he always makes it up for a tackle. He is always there. Rarely does anybody ever get past him.
Yeah.
So I would probably give him a 5 for an average game, working like on a whole level.
Yeah.
His
I agree
passing was probably below average, but his tackling and the way he stops the defenders running through, I would give him a 5.
Yeah, I think another thing that I would mark him down on as well is, like I say, when we put that line, how many times have you seen it where Wan-Bissaka's the one who's deeper, playing everyone onside? Seen it so many times in replays when people are like, oh, he was offside, and you look back and Wan-Bissaka's playing him onside. I think that is a risk at times, and I know he probably does that so he's got the advantage to try and get back in and recover. But at the same time, I think that line, it's obvious that no one's really talking at the back. We lack that leader at the back. And Wan-Bissaka, I think, needs talking to a bit more in that sense. But yeah, I think a 5, an average performance. I'd agree on that. Lindelof then. Victor Lindelof and the 2 centre-backs for me need scrutinising tonight, because no way should we be conceding that goal so late on. We should be throwing everything to clear that ball. Yeah,
like I said, I think Everton isolated our weakest parts and our weakness in terms of those 2 players in their speed, and I think they did that to their advantage. So the pair of them, I think the pair of them are along the same lines as De Gea on a 3.
Yeah, let's give them a 3. They conceded 3, so we'll give them a 3. Luke Shaw.
Oh, Doug, put your claws away.
All right, Doug.
I was going to
say. Put down, Doug. Luke Shaw. I thought he was probably the standout one from our back 4 yet again, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think he just found his feet, hasn't he, again? Probably not as influential as he has been in other games recently, but still, one of our better players. You know,
I agree.
And that's what he's bringing at the moment. I would probably have given him a 6.5 or 6.5. I think
6.5. I would have probably said a 6, but slightly above average game. But like you say, not as effective as he has been, but still one of our bright sparks. Definitely, I think he was always positive going forwards. Don't forget the assist. Yeah, 6.5. Agreeing there. 5, 7, 5. Yeah, a decent game from Luke Shaw. All things considered, Pogba will grade on what we saw. Obviously, it's hard, but Paul Pogba, how do you think he started the game, Meg?
Difficult, because I think at the time leading up to whilst he was on the pitch, I think Everton were making it difficult for us. They were still at that phase where they were able to move about quite freely. They were playing like that the diamond, and we were just trying to tire them out a little bit more. So I think whilst he was on the pitch, we weren't great, but that was probably because Everton still had energy. Does that make sense? Like we hadn't tired them out enough. So I'd have probably just given him a 5, if I'm honest, just an average game.
People, we did give Maguire a rating. We said Lindelof and Maguire both on a 3 because they conceded 3 goals. That's us being a bit kind, I think. Don't worry, you didn't go missing like you did for that third goal or anything like that. We did say a 3. Sorry if you didn't hear it. So we went for a 3 for him. Again, I think we've been a bit kind with that. But Pogba, a lot of people saying a 6. I thought, especially, I was gutted that he got injured, obviously, but the point he did as well, I felt like he was just growing into the game. We obviously scored.
I'm laughing because I'm loving like tonight's reasons behind people's ratings. Like we've had De Gea as a 3 because they let in 3. Lindelof Maguire 3 because they let in 3. Pogba's a 6 because his jersey number is a 6 tonight. That's it. This is what we've got to. We don't want to slate them. That they're literally having what's on their shirt. I love it.
I think we give Pogba a 5 an average.
I'd give him a 5. I just think at the time that he was on, it was just a difficult game.
Yeah. McTominay then. Obviously got a goal. I thought he worked really hard in there. One of our better players. You know what you get with him. He's going to work hard. He's going to graft in there. And like I say, he's shown that he gets into the box and he has got a goal in him. Yeah, what's your thoughts on his performance, Meg?
I think he was quite solid. I think he, like you said, he pops up at the goal. He's such a determined little character, isn't he? He's not like I don't think he's got like a big ego about him. I just think he gets on with his work. I feel like he will, if he continues the way that he is, he will be like a Michael Carrick, where he's not got better since he retired, but people appreciated him after he retired. And I feel like McTominay, we will appreciate the work that he did, but he's not one of these big time Charlies.
Lewis plays him for some reason. I think that's probably why, because he knows what he's going to get from McTominay week in, week out.
Yeah.
And that's graft in the middle. He's going to work hard. He's going to fight for every ball. But also, he's added this to his game, this goals, hasn't he, which is valuable to us.
Yeah, like I said, I just think he isn't just this big time Charlie with the ego that comes with it. I think he just gets on with this, like he literally grafts, doesn't he? Like he just he's a grafter.
Yeah. James is putting in the ratings for the Everton midfielders as well. Gomez had a fairly decent game, to be fair. First half, I think he needed to play forward a bit more. He was a bit too secure with it. It's too safe. But obviously, second half, they changed that. That's obviously something Ancelotti said. But yeah, McTominay, I thought he got his goal and he played decently well. I think a 7 would be probably fair for McTominay today. One of our higher rated players, I think a 7 for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And someone said a proven leader. I do think he does show as a bit of a leader on the pitch. I love that clip of him on the 9-0 where he's there screaming to get the ball for the 10th. I love that desire. We just need more of that from other players, don't we? But next up is Bruno Meg. Again, I think Bruno's a bit of a difficult one. I don't think he had a worldie of a game, but that goal was an absolute worldie.
I think teams are put somebody on him, don't they? And they keep him quiet. First half, I've never seen Bruno have less touches. At times.
Was it 2 touches? 3 touches?
At one point, 2 touches before he scored. And I think that's what you get though, isn't it, now? Because you've kind of got a marker on him. Put somebody on him, try and keep him out the game, keep him quiet, rather than giving it, because look, they gave him space and look what happens. He will just pick his point and he'll be like, I'll take a goal off you if you give me any space. Or I'll send a peach across him. So I just think like teams are starting to just say, right, we'll put somebody on him and see what he can get out of it.
I'll get one.
But yeah, I think so. Quietish, but then when you give him an opportunity, look what he does. Phenomenal strike.
So we do go the same as what we gave for McTominay. Got a goal, had a decent game. One of the better performers with Bruno, and roughly a 7. Would you agree on that one?
Yeah.
Georgia said a 7. Cooley said a 7. Yeah, I think a 7 is probably a fair one for him. And like I said, the goal was quality. Doug said, was it Cantona-esque? It definitely was. It was slightly different because Cantona obviously was a chip more so. He's a lot more power on Bruno's, but the arrogance in the celebration afterwards and that, like, you should love to see it. Unfortunately, we're not talking about that a lot though because we're focusing on the disastrous defence. But yeah, great goal. And it was a goal that was worthy of winning the game, to be fair. And unfortunately, we couldn't see that through to happen because we conceded 2 goals in 3 minutes or something stupid in the second half. I actually can't believe what happened. It's a nightmare start to the second half. and a nightmare end to it. Just a disastrous second half in total, I think you'd say. Mason Greenwood, then, a player who I actually thought, especially in the first half, was one of our standout players.
Yeah, I think he had to grow into the game. Like I said, I think they made it difficult for us to have our attacking players involved in the first half. The first half of the first half. But then once we were able to get a bit more service into him, I think he just played really well. And like I said, he looks like he's playing with a little bit more confidence. I wish he could just add a goal into his game at some point. I feel like that would really help him in terms of his whole performance. But just think he's just playing with that little bit of extra confidence. I give him another 7 probably. Yeah, 7.
I think I'll probably push him slightly higher than that. I think I'll probably say 7.5 because I feel, especially in the first half, I felt like we were a bit clueless going forwards, and he was one of our main threats. Like you say, that run in particular, that few of the crosses that he put in towards Cavani at the near post and whatnot. I thought he was positive, so I think I'll probably push him up slightly higher than that and maybe do a 7.5. What's your thoughts on what George said here? We went to top with Bailly, and then we go back with Lindelof and Maguire, and then we start dropping countless points. Do you think that is a true reflection? Do you think that this result would have been different today if Bailly started? And get in the chat and let us know as well. But I've got to say, with Bailly's pace, I don't feel we're as vulnerable going into them channels.
It had been interesting to see how they would have gone about that, because I think you put Calvert-Lewin against Lindelof or Maguire and he's beating them for pace. So you're sending balls down those channels, whereas Bailly would have matched him for pace. So you're not as isolated. He's not going to get past you. So I would have been intrigued to see kind of how they would go about attacking against Bailly, but you can't say. It's difficult, isn't it? Because he's injured, so it's not like we've got an option.
Yeah.
If we had an option of saying, okay, are we going to play Bailly and he's going to sit on the bench, or Lindelof? But we haven't got that because Bailly's not even on the bench. We can't even consider him coming on.
It's that issue though, isn't it? We said, didn't we, when Bailly was playing him, we were like, we need to keep him fit, but we were saying he's made of glass. We still need to sign a centre back. We're obviously vulnerable in that area. Ollie's obviously he'd rather have Lindelof. He's shown that in the past, even when Bailly's been fit, he's chosen Lindelof to start with Maguire. He trusts that the most. But we've seen it. Like I say, this result today, this isn't a massive shock because we've seen it week in, week out. Defensively, we are a shambles at times. And I do think that with the pace of Bailly, it would have been different in them channels. But at the same time, like, I don't know, frustrating because we've got to be more clinical going the other way. But you shouldn't, even so, 3 goals at home should be enough to win the game. And it hasn't been. And that shows how poor defensively we really are. And Doug says, drop a like on the video and subscribe if you are new on the road to 15k on this channel. Thanks, Doug, for that. Please do hit that sub button, guys. Hit the like button as well if you're enjoying it. We really appreciate it. And of course, go and subscribe to Doug's channel as well. Doug out. I'm pretty sure Doug is really close to 1k, so go and help him out. I'd appreciate that. Big up to Naz in the chat as well. Needed some time to cool down. Trust me, I needed some time to cool down as well. I'm glad that Meg was slightly late coming on because it gave me a bit of time to actually breathe before I went on, because I think I'd have probably started crying or something. I was that angry when the match finished. Now I probably wouldn't have cried, but I was angry. Let's put it that way. I still am, but we managed to talk it out a little bit, and I feel like now we're a bit more able to talk. At first we were a bit speechless. But yeah, 7.5 for Greenwood. Rashford then, great assist for Cavani's goal, but again in front of goal, just not clinical, was he? He wasn't quite at it.
No, and we talked the other day about hitting it first time with confidence and him backing himself a goal, and tonight he took those two on 2 separate occasions, took 2 extra touches, and almost made it, well, from our angle, look more difficult than it should have been. But obviously, split decision. He's obviously made that choice to try and help himself out. It was a great assist for Cavani's goal. I'd give him more than a 4, definitely. I think that's quite low. I'd probably give him a 5.5, purely an average game, but the assist wasn't average. It was a great assist.
Yeah, it was a good assist. I agree with that, and I thought at times he did look a threat. It's just that when he gets into those positions at the minute, he either tries to beat one extra man, or he doesn't want to shoot. He takes an extra touch, or he tries to pass it. He just doesn't seem at it, does he, at the moment in front of goal? And I'm hoping that does click because, like we've already mentioned, defensively we will concede, so we do need to be more clinical going forwards, and it does drive you insane sometimes. But he is always a threat, isn't he? So I think, like you say, it was higher than a 4. I think it was above average game, and I think a 6 is probably a fair one for Marcus Rashford tonight. Edison Cavani got on the end of that Rashford cross, constantly working, defending from the front. His movement is intelligent, isn't it, Meg? How did you think he fared today?
Like I said, leads from the front in more ways than one. And he delivers when you need to deliver. I think he had one shot on target and scored. It's about trying to get him more shots on target.
Yeah.
And giving him the ball a little bit more often, or finding him a little bit more often. His movement inside the box isn't exceptional. Just try and find 5 yards of less than 5 yards of space just to pull off your player. For me, probably agree with what people are saying here. 7.5, probably around that mark for me.
So a 7 because he wears a 7 is what a lot of people are saying in the chat. No, I think he had a decent game. To be fair, I'd probably put Cavani as my man of the match tonight. I really would. So I think he needs to get higher than the others that we've given. I think I agree with a 7.5. I think I'm going to agree with that 8 that was there because I don't think Cavani did a lot longer. He took the one chance that he did have. He was constantly working. Service wasn't great into him, but I thought he played well, and I think he was probably one of our standout players. Him, Greenwood, I'd probably put up as top 2, maybe McTominay just behind them. I don't know if you agree on that, but I think he deserves man of the match, which is why I'm going to say 8 for Cavani because that puts him just ahead of everyone else that we've put. Fred obviously came on for Pogba quite early on. I still question whether Donny would have been a better change, but I kind of understand why Fred came on. How did you think he did come on into that game?
Well, I don't think he was ready to come on at all. You could see that Pogba was trying to stutter his way off the pitch because he wasn't ready to come on. So when you're not mentally prepared, or physically even dressed to get on the pitch, then that's not going to bode well for you. In my opinion, I feel like I've always got to be literally prepared, ready to go on, know exactly what I'm doing. It was kind of just thrown on in the end. But yeah, really average. I would not put him above average at all.
5?
Like a 5.
Let's go for a 5. And then Tuanzebe. He came on, shore us up, gave away a free kick. That's led to it. I mean, you can't come on and give away stupid free kicks. It's hard to judge him in that period of time, but in that period of time, what he did do wasn't the best, was it?
I saw someone put, why don't we play Tuanzebe and Lindelof? And I feel like with Tuanzebe, just not quite got as much experience. So you can play him in a one-off game. He played against PSG, and everyone says, "Oh, he played so well against PSG, though." And it's not, how can you play that well if it doesn't matter about experience if you can do that? But it's not just about one. It's not just a one-off game. This is doing it week in, week out, and I feel like he hasn't had the opportunity to do it week in, week out. But when we look at Fred, and he had the opportunity last season to come in and get a run of games, and he thrived with that. But that's in midfield. You don't do that with defenders. You don't just drop them in and be like, off you go then. We have seen that it's a partnership at the back. And I just don't think he's got enough experience to be considered one of the two. I
don't think that, to be fair, a lot of that is not his fault. I think a run of games would benefit him. Like George was there, he kind of keeps throwing him in at the deep end, Ollie.
Yeah, it's not his fault, but I don't. When it's like that and a centre back partnership, I don't think you can just be like, right, now it's your turn.
Yeah.
When you get an opportunity like he had tonight for a few minutes to shore things up, don't give a stupid free kick away. Yeah. Well, it wasn't a stupid free kick, but obviously you didn't think it was going to lead to a goal. Yeah. But just don't do anything wrong. Yeah. And until you can not do anything wrong in a couple of minutes, when we really need you to not do anything wrong, you're not gonna be one of the first names on the team sheet.
Yeah, so I think a 4 because the fell slightly below average. And like I say, it's half because of the time he was on there. And I don't mean that too nastily towards him. He's still got higher than Lindelof and Maguire, so I wouldn't worry about it too much doing JB. But yeah, I think a 4. We'll go for 4. So far, what proved that Fred can shoot, I refuse to believe it. I've already said that shot with his right foot was like a golf club, like so straight-legged. I don't even know what he was attempting to try and put it in. I don't know what he was doing, but it definitely wasn't a natural swing of the foot, was it? But apparently he can shoot, but on his left. Let's put it that way, on his left. Ollie, Meg, because I forgot. I apologise after the 9-0. I forgot, but he would have got a 10 anyway for that one. But for this one,
he's not
Meg,
getting that today.
Ollie, what do you reckon?
I think he got it wrong in the second half. I definitely think he got it wrong. Because, like I said, I would not have been making a change. I'd have just said to them players, you need to see it through. 4, 5. He's mastered it to score. He's mastered it to score 3 goals, hasn't he? So a 4 or a 5.
Yeah, I'm going to say a 4 because I think this has happened so many times where we've had defensive mistakes. We've been too open. Like I say, we just don't seem organised at the back at all. The substitutions, I think, were very late, and the substitutions that were made, Fred coming on would have been better. Tuanzebe would have been better if someone else came on, someone more positive. So yeah, I'm going to say a 4 for Ollie on that one. I'm just absolutely gutted, to be honest, after this result. But guys, I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody who's joined us in the chat. Obviously, it's always a pleasure talking to you guys. It helps me and Meg to cheer up a little bit anyway, and hopefully we cheer you up a little bit as well after a result like that. But it's not the end of the world. We keep going. Obviously, another big game tomorrow with Man City. We'll see what happens in that one. United ladies are playing again tomorrow as well against Reading, so go and check that one out, definitely. Guys, if you are new as well, please hit that sub button. I'd really appreciate it. We're so close to 15k. Drop a like, of course, on the video as well. And if you have missed any comments in the chat, just drop it on afterwards. Thank you so much, Doug, for that super chat. Really do appreciate the contribution. He says, great show as always, ladies. I know you'll feel sad about this game. At least you didn't lose like Arsenal, 10 losses in 23 games for Arteta. On to the next one. And what a good comment to leave it on, Doug. Thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it. Obviously, guys, go and follow Meg as well on all her socials. Go and check out her content. Some great tweets going up, some good content. And I like the little click video you did the other day, that little animation, Meg, by the way.
That took far too long.
Technology.
That took far too long to achieve.
But Meg, obviously, thank you so much for taking the time to come on again. Pity it wasn't a result we wanted.
I know. I mean, like I said at the very start of this video, it feels like we were coming on to talk about a loss because that's the worst way to drop points at the end of the game. But we look forward to tomorrow, 12:30, Manchester United women versus Reading. So yeah, make sure you check that one out. We'll be back to talk about that at some point as well.
Definitely. Will be some content near the West Ham game. Me and Meg, I'm sure, will be online and we'll tweet about it. I am going to be on, I think I'm on West Ham chat at some point, maybe tomorrow night. So check out that one as well. I'll be doing a little preview on there. But we need to bounce back, Meg, and we need to hopefully keep a clean sheet and take our chances going forward. Same old story, isn't it? Until next time, guys, keep smiling, stay positive, and we'll see you soon.